Hey guys, this is Cruise Roy. Feeling a little better today. What I'd like to talk about is the flywing H1 flight controller. They have the heli version and the light version. The light version is in all their toy helicopters, and the H1 heli can be used in almost any heli. It doesn't have to have a tail motor. It can actually be a regular standard heli like a 450 or 500 or 600, 700s and 800s. If you wish to try an H1 in one of your bigger, more expensive helicopters, go at it, as long as you got a good one. I have one of the first ones ever put out. It's actually, everything on it is written in Chinese. I use it for a test thing. I'd never actually flown it because it came from someone that had one of the first, I think version 1, and it crashed, so I purchased it. I think it's okay. I've taken it apart to take pictures and do this and that, but what I want to talk about is the GPSs. They have the new M10, which I fly in drones. It's a lot quicker on the draw. It can find satellites a lot faster, but we have to remember, sad that's going on. We have two little wars going on, one with Ukraine and one now with Israel. The GPS satellites, sometimes the military shuts them down so they cannot communicate. I know people don't understand that, but it's just as quick as turning a switch. So I've heard people flying just standard racing drones have been having trouble getting GLONASS, which is, I think, the Russian satellites. And the only reason is I think they're pretty much shutting half of what they got down so nobody can communicate. But anyways, besides that, what I wanted to talk about is it's very hard to get the M10, and especially with the 10th chip generation. Sorry. Which is a faster, but you have to realize there's drone companies throughout the U.S. They sell the modules. There's all-day quads, and there's B drone, and that's where I got this Foxeer. The reason I picked up this Foxeer just recently is because Chris Hebert said he had luck with it, working with the H1, but the HDOP was kind of on the low side, which he said he was getting 0.75 on a standard flywing. He was getting 1.50 on the Foxeer. I haven't tested it yet. Right now I'm just talking about what it takes to do this if you want to try it. Now, all the talking back and forth with me and Chris, I mean, GPSs come with a small connector, kind of like the Flywing's original GPSs, and then you can tie on the GH connector on this end, but it's not really worth it to me. So all the talking we did, we're talking about, like, this cord here is from the version 1 and also version 2. And if you notice, the color code is identical straight through this harness, but I don't know if you can see this, but this connector and this connector are upside down from each other. So in reality, let's say the white wire is on the opposite end of this one on the white wire. So you can't really go by colors. If you want to solder one of these on, I'm thinking Flywing's only paying a couple of bucks for these GPSs because they can get them in bulk. The Foxeer I got here for $12.99. It's actually a pretty good, high-rated drone GPS. This one here, the bigger one with the compass and dual layer all built in with the battery backup, this one's $40-something, but no matter what I do, I can't get it to work with the H1, so there's programming involved with these. Some of these are just plug it in, it works, or it's not going to work. I can't guarantee that the Foxeer is using both satellites, though, because I program these through a program for my drones, except I can't do it through the flight controller on Flywing yet. Haven't figured that out. You have to have this plugged to the flight controller for a drone, and you can go in and you can modify the mapping of a GPS. I can't do that with the Fox Air, even though you can do it, but not with this flight controller. So there might be some things that are not turned on. The reason it worked by plugging it in is it was okay for GPS maybe, but not GLONASS. Maybe that's why he's got a very a higher HDOP. I guess lower the number, the better it is, than a standard flywing, and they probably program these. But what I want to tell you is this one here, the wire code is way different than a V3. I don't have a V3 with me. It's in my Airwolf right now, sitting on a table. I have another one, but it's over my girl's house. I'm home alone because I'm sick. I haven't had a chance to see a V3 puck, but I can guarantee you it's different than the 2.5. This is a 2.5 puck right here. I mean, sorry, this is a 1.0 puck. This came with this Chinese H1, all right? And I did have it all hot glued together because I didn't care. I just used it for testing. But now that I'm testing GPSs, I had to redo the wiring because the hot glue kind of was hard as a rock and you couldn't get it off. So I kind of broke the wires off. But I reset it back to the way it is. And there's a few other things we'll talk about. But from what I noticed, the wiring harnesses can be all over the place. And if you want to get into this, you're going to need something like a real tiny soldering iron. This is a 20 water. It's pretty much all you need. They have battery powered ones, but these are like $5, you know, because nobody's using them anymore, so they're cheap. Maybe something of a magnifier, unless you got some really good eyes, you know what I mean? Something either like that, or my favorite is lops, because I don't have to worry about them. You know, they got a little light on them. You can turn the light on, flip the glasses in front of your glasses, and boom, you know, you got this LED, and you can see some shit pretty good there. But anyways, that's if anybody wants to get into this. It is possible. The flywing one works on the H1, of course. The ADC, I haven't figured that out yet. I think I have to program it. And the Fox Air, just buy one for $12.99 from a drone company in the U.S. There's probably other drone companies everywhere, but a lot of drones now are going GPS for locating, and they also work with the H1 heli. What I want to go back to is we were talking about the version 1 wiring, which is I think the same as the 2. The 2.5 and 3 went into an indirect connection. Whatever puck they're using, let me just straighten this out. This is one that broke that I don't use anymore. You got to be careful. These little wires just pull out. I guarantee you, if you're having any problems, most likely one wire, just one communication wire slipped out of the joint and it's causing you issues. All right? Either the red blinking light or the purple light doesn't go away, either one. But if you look at this one, the connector clips, this is the clip that clips it into the GPS and the flight controller. They're both the same. Where this one has the same connector as the V3 on one end, on the other end, it's just using a JXT connector, you know? So, which kind of looks like these. Sorry, that one actually had the right connector on it because I changed it. This one here, this is just standard connector that comes with the GPS pucks. But anyways, this one's indirect. You don't have to worry about which way the wires go. It's top to bottom, and when you fold this one's meant to be folded. This is such a small cable, but if you think about it, the GPS plugs into here, and then you gotta bend this one like that. This is what it actually looks like into the flight controller, you know? And these wires are so stiff, you know what I mean? So what happens is, tugging and pulling, you might be taking it out to do some cleaning or adjust something, and what happens is you pull just one wire out halfway. It still looks like it's in there, but halfway. You push it in, the 6 pins on either side. The two most important ones are the TX and the RX. They use those for communication. The SCL and the SDA, that's a programming port. You know, it changes on the fly whenever it needs it. And of course, you got power and ground. Not every one of these pucks you're going to see have 6 pins. That's the other thing. They have to be a 6-pin GPS. The 4-pin GPS are different. They only use the power from the RX and the TX to run. I'd like to get a dual layer to work like this one. These are fabulous. If you can't get one of these to lock in like 30 seconds, there's something wrong with it. But I can't get it to connect to the H1 because there's something in there telling me not to, even though the wiring's correct and everything. And that's the other thing I wanted to get to. It kind of looks... I don't use the plugs. I want at least a 50% chance that it'll unplug. And plus to take it off so I can repair anything. But I solder them right to the puck. And it is pretty tough because, you know, they think we all have like 10 million zone. I don't know if you can see that, but that one is not labeled. Just like the flywing is labeled, but real tiny, right behind the plug. And I don't know if I can get that in there enough that you would see it. All right. The second thing I want to tell you to beware of, don't worry about colors. The color wires have nothing to do with anything. I figure a company like Flywing would use colors, but they don't. There's standard colors for GPSs, and if you work with Arduino boards, of course, their layout is perfect. Their colors are all the same. You don't really have an issue, but with this Flywing, depending on what year they use the puck, like this is a Flywing, this is an 8th generation chip, standard GPS and GLONASS, and the 10 can pick up the other satellites up in the world that I don't know offhand, but this one, the Fox ear is pretty nice. This is a, not that I want to break the ceramics, they're not that delicate, but this one has the labeling right on it. TX, RX, ground, 5 volt, SCL, and SDA. A lot of times you're going to see a C or a D. That's the SCL and the SDA. But the TX and the RX, on drones, they're reversed. With Flywing, they're the same. It's the RX and the TX go in the same place, same position as the puck. Don't know why. But this is a Foxeer M10Q 250. It definitely has the 10th generation sensor chip, and it's a little bit smaller. All right, so this is going to get you quicker pickup on your GPS locations. All right. So anyways, between talking back and forth, me, Chris, me not understanding, him not understanding what I'm saying, or back and forth, we used the Foxeer because he did have some pictures of a bunch of Flywings he has and how they're labeled. And believe it or not, even if they're out of the same generation, there's different pucks, different serial numbers. So they use different ones, but the labeling's always the same. So we talked about it, and I sat down, I punched some numbers, put my brain to it, and he also made a pinout, and I double-checked the pinout. Here's your flight controller, just like this H1 flight controller. He did a pinout on this. The top is your voltage. No more than 5.5. That's all that's coming out of this, so don't get a GPS that takes 10 volts because it ain't going to work. And then you have your TX and your RX. On most of the labeling on some of the GPSs, it says TDX and RDX. Technically, it's just TX, so it's like transceiver and receiver. All right, so voltage, transceiver, receiver. The SCL and the SDLs I use all the time. I repair drone batteries. That's a communication port. It's clock and data between the unit. So I think technically, if I wire this up to my battery thing, I can probably see the programming in the H1. I haven't tried it yet. That's something in the future. And of course the bottom is the ground. So this will not change. This will not change on either the light or the H1 heli. Mine's blacked out because it's the H1 I don't know what. Alright? But this pinout is always going to stay the same. They've been building these for a while. They're sitting on a shelf. That's never going to change. What does change is, if you notice how the wires are buzzing all over the place here, this will change because every GPS is going to have their own. So if you start looking on them, Amazon has a lot of pucks for sale, GPS pucks. You want to find a 10. You don't want an 8 because you already have the 8. Like this is a generation 8. You already got that. Having a Generation 8 with a battery backup would be way better than that. I don't even think the version 3, I think it does, but I'm not sure, has a battery backup. Kind of keeps some of the data inside the chip, and what happens is it gets quicker every time you go out. The ones without batteries, they're the same time. If it takes 15 minutes to get all the satellites, it's going to take 15 minutes to get all the satellites. It shouldn't take that long, but with the battery backups, what happens is it takes a long time that first time, maybe a little bit better the second time, and then the third time, it's boom. The minute you lift off, it's already grabbed all the GPSs. So, wiring diagram, don't worry about colors. Try one if you want. It's just a modification. What did I do with it? Okay, here's the Fox here. This one here, but I want to show you something right off. First of all, let me plug this in. And this is a Fox here. And I haven't checked the DOPH yet, if I said that right, DOPH. I will when I charge my laptop. But I have a switch here. It's hooked up to a battery. Let me turn on my Futaba. Make sure all my switches are in the right place. And the other thing I want to say is on your H1 light, you don't hear much about this stuff, but the normal light, when you boot this up, should be purple. Purple, that's it. No red flashing, no green flashing, no yellow flashing. If your switches are in the right place and you did your radio calibration right, when this boots up, it's supposed to be purple. It's going to do a red dance first. And then as it goes through the purple red sometimes, or blue red, that's when it's adjusting the head. And now we're in purple. Perfect. That's where she's supposed to be. Look at the Fox here. It's a little different than the Flywing. The Flywing has a blinking red light, and the green light doesn't start to blink until it starts to pick up satellites. Maybe I'll go outside with this one. But for right now, let me hit the switch into GPS. Yellow blinking light. The GPS is here. Don't do this. This ain't going to happen. You're not going to see anything here. We're not going to see anything inside the building. Don't put your puck upside down. It can't see this way when it's looking at the ground. Satellites up this way. No satellites. Unless the devil owns satellites that we don't know about. So when you want to start looking at how it's working, you got to have the puck facing up. Here's another one. Puck facing up. Puck facing up. 90% of the pucks have a silver dot. The silver dot faces up. Also, you need to know what direction this needs to be, and that's in your directions. Every one of them are different. The Flywing's different. This one's different. It's got to be facing the right direction. All right? That's another thing. That's pretty simple. It's usually in the instructions. All right? So we're not going to get anything in here, but that's the perfect lighting. If I go to 3D, the light should turn blue. All right? I know people don't talk about the lights. This thing's still looking. And what you're going to see on a Fox here is that green light starts to pulse when it starts to detect any satellites. All right? So anyways, let's talk about the lights. I'm in 3D. Of course, if you come up one, you got the flashing yellow. Now, I have my switches set up. I think if I go here, and I go here, this is ADI mode. Alright? So ADI mode, you get a blinking red light. But you shouldn't see the blinking red light when you first boot this up. What does that mean? Well, let's take care of that right now. Let me put all the switches back where they belong. Let me shut off the H1. And let's say, hey, I hate Flywing's GPS. The 8 module sucks. I want to get a 10. I'm going to take my Flywing, and I'm going to just plug the Flywing back in. I don't like the new one. All right? I plugged it in. I'm going to face it up so you can see the lighting. Radio's already on. Let me turn this on. Again, it goes purple, red, blinking. And then it's like the GPS is okay. But now what do I got? This is one explanation I need to tell you. You cannot flip these back and forth and hope that they work. You can't say, oh, I broke my GPS. I'm going to change it, and then I get this. You can't fly. Let me go into 3D mode. I go into 3D mode, nothing. I go into GPS mode, nothing. What does this blinking red light mean? If you go to the manual, that people don't tend to look at, but the status of a blinking light, slow is compass calibration required. Fast is the receiver has no signal or it's seriously disturbed. So that's a fast pulse. Let's see what a fast pulse looks like. Pull it out. Look at that. All right. Now here's the funny thing. If you were looking at that, you say, hey, cool, man. I'm in Addy mode. I'm going to go like Addy fly around. No, that means your receiver either got disconnected or your receiver went to clunker-junk. This is one of the cheapest Futaba receivers you'll ever get. It's like $5 now. But you can't even find them because Futaba likes their own system. All right, so I don't want to plug it back in and hurt it, but that's what creates this blinking light. All right, let me shut this off. Always watch your voltage here. Negative is always up on the H1s. So I'm going to turn it back on. The GPS booted up okay. It's going to do the dance. And then the head does the dance. It goes to purple. And then all of a sudden, what's wrong, folks? I got a bad GPS. It's not a bad GPS. You just need to do a recalibration. Do it outside. I see so many people doing it inside. You know, it doesn't work. There's two things that has to calibrate. The GPS and the compass within the H1. That's why I think this one doesn't work, because it has a dual compass. It's a dual layer. It has a compass in here, compass in there, magnetometer in here, and you got your GPS. So this one would be so much better. Probably, boom, you know, but I can't get it to work. I got another one coming in. It was $12, similar to this one, 25 millimeter. And we're going to try that out when I get it in. But otherwise, I just wanted to talk about this. Let me shut this off. See if I can pull this GPS out. All right. So I pull the GPS out. Let's go back to the Fox ear. Because what happened is I did calibrate the unit. It is funny. The GPS is a dummy. It shouldn't mean anything. But all of this has been calibrated together. I went outside, did the disco dance, and it was fine. Let me turn it back on. All right, so it should do the red blinking light, then the red and blue blinky light, which is actually not on their list, by the way. And then it's purple. Purple means return home or there's some kind of issue. The GPS is flickering. Perfect. Let me hit a switch. I'm going to go one down. GPS mode. It's got that blinking yellow. I know it looks green, but it's a blinking yellow. And in a minute, we're going to go outside, and I'll show you what happens with this. And then later on, when my laptop charges, I want to check the DOPD, and I'll let you know what's happening. I don't think a 1.50 and a 0.75 have too much difference. They're going to lock in very well. It depends on the quality of the chip. Foxeer is a very big name in GPS, and let me just put it into 3D. All right, 3D mode. So in a minute, we're going to pause from this. I'm going to go outside and set up out there, and I can show you what this one does compared to the flywing. I've already shown a video of the flywing, how it works. The red light comes on, doesn't really do anything. Put it into 3D mode, GPS mode, and it starts to blink. The light starts to blink and search, and then finally it goes solid when it has all the locks or enough locks. This one, the Foxy, is a little different. It's going to turn this solid green, but that's still going to pulse because it's still looking. It still tries to get as many as it can. People getting 30, 35 satellites right now, good luck with that, because like I said, we have issues up there right now. There's not many. There's enough satellites to keep the world rolling, but people don't realize what satellites are doing up there. And we race drones, and I've been out of it for a while because it's really fast, and the GPS helps them out. And without the GPS, you can't go as fast as you think you can. So, but anyways, besides that, I hope hope that helps someone out. Maybe help someone out that says, hey, you know what, I want to try this. Or you don't. You don't want to burn yourself, or it's very, very small wiring, as you can see. And I'll bring this thing outside in a minute, and I'll let you look at what it's doing. This is Cruise Roy. I'm outside. I'll be back. Let me turn on the radio. When we're talking about GPSs, hit all my switches. Put them in the right spot. We're talking about GPSs. This is the Fox Ear. When you flip it, that's their emblem. This is a Fox Ear. It's not a flywing. All wired up. It's soldered on the puck. That gives me a better advantage of over one of these connections disconnecting. Alright, we got the H1 light. If you notice, everything is weird on it, you know what I mean? And I'm just using a 6.6 life to power this up. I brought out my other H1 light out of my 2.5. Turn it on. Okay, we got a blinky red light. And it should go red and blue to do the head, and then purple. So we're perfect. Let's look at the Fox Ear. I want to bring it over the edge so you can kind of see the lighting. Alright, there's no red light. The red light's flickering, and the green light just says solid. So you're like, oh, we already got GPS. But let me hit the switch. We're down on GPS. We got the flickering yellow. Alright, let's come over to the Fox Ear. Okay, the green light is still solid. And I got it facing up. You don't want to face it down. I'll show you if it ever starts to flicker what it does. Okay, we're still blinking on yellow. There we go, solid green. And now it's calling me a liar. I guess it's locked on pretty good because the green light's staying steady. And the H1's staying steady. I was trying to tell you it was flickering before, but it's not. But let me try something. I'm seeing everybody do this. It's on their heli. Why don't my heli work? Did you notice that? The GPS is still working, but so it makes you wonder an inverted. I wouldn't stay inverted too long because you lose your GPS signal. Let's flip it over. So it like goes back into lost mode when you flip them over like that. There you go, it's locked solid. But the Fox Ear never blinked. That's a different thing. Well, I've only booted it a few times, so maybe after a while that blink goes away. Oh, there's the big blink. See the green light blinking? So I don't know if that means it's got a lot locked on and it's blinking like that, or it doesn't have enough. But that's a module 10. That's a 10. Alright? And like I said, it's just hard getting flywings from China if you want to put the updated module in it where you can just buy them for 12 bucks instead of 49 bucks and do it yourself. I mean, there's other things involved, but if you have the availability of the tools, it's okay. But let me shut this off again. I'm going to turn this back on when my clock says 4 minutes. Okay, my clock just said 4 minutes. So from 4 minutes on, how long will it take to lock satellites? $4:17, $4:18, $4:19, $4:20. The green light is blinking. I don't know if that means not enough satellites or it has plenty. It's locked into a lot. I'll have to look up some instructions on the Fox Ear. Okay, we're 40 seconds in. Okay, 47 seconds and it locked. All right. But if I flip it for too long, she's back into motion. Flip it back. Let's see, I'm at 5.0. Nope, and it relocked right away. So as long as it's got enough, it's going to lock real quick when it flips back over. All right. This is Cruise Roy. Hope this helps you out. Just tips on changing your GPS. I'm near some red nails here, which I shouldn't be. And I hope this helps someone out, and I'm out of here.